Chapter 520. Ghost Cry, stall him first. When he is not paying attention, I can let out the dream-eating wolf and let him enter the dream realm. As long as he enters the dream realm, he will lose control of his body and treat the dream as reality. Killing him will be as easy as flipping one's hand. Ink Wolf sent a Jin Yuan message to Ghost Cry. Ghost Cry nodded as a wicked smile appeared on his face. Wind Shadow Shapeless Hand. Battle Wolf Kill. The two regrouped, attacking toward Yi Chen together from the left and right. Yi Chen was not afraid at all as he waved his sword to welcome the incoming attack. A horrifying slaughter sword intent surrounded his body and eventually gathered on his long sword, which shone with a dark red light. The light was dreamy, carrying the purest killing intent in the world. The buildings of the Yi family started to shatter. Even though it was only a bit of that shocking sword intent, it had already darkened the sky completely, and the heavy clouds had reached the lowest point. Kill! As the battle reached its climax, Yi Chen waved out a sword attack. Gold-blue sword chi filled the sky, slicing through the dark clouds. Pooh! Ghost Cry and Ink Wolf both backed out, puking out a huge amount of blood. The two looked shocked. Who were they? They were the remaining elders of the Nine Evil cult, with a cultivation at peak level mid-sea of Soul's realm, and had learned a couple of low-rank profound sense martial arts. Their martial will was not bad either, having already reached the martial soul rank 3. Their experience and battling talent were not their weaknesses either. Otherwise, they would not have been able to become the elders of the Nine Evil cult. With their power, they had joined hands to fight against Yi Chen, but they were still pushed back by the latter while puking out blood. How could there be such a ridiculous thing in this world? If this brat is not killed, I will not be able to eat or sleep in peace. Ghost Weep gritted his teeth and spat out a sentence filled with killing intent. Hold on. Dream-eating wolf is the key to our mission. Ink Wolf reminded Ghost Cry. I know. Let him be arrogant for a while longer. After blowing away the two with one sword attack, Yi Chen performed his sword steps and approached the slower Ink Wolf. Before the latter could react, he stabbed out an amaranthan nature attack. The space pattern spread out along the sword body, and the blue sword light kept on shooting out. Not good, danger. Ink Wolf was fully aware of Yi Chen's offensive power. Even if he were to fight an attack head-on, he would still vomit blood and be forced to retreat. If he were to use his protective Jin Yuan to resist, he would definitely be courting death. Dang! Blinding sparks flew. Ink Wolf took out a high-grade shield just in time to block Yi Chen's sure-kill sword. Quick sword hell. Using the counterforce, Yi Chen pulled away from Ink Wolf. Using the profound of fast, he fully performed the speed sword prison. The lightning-fast sword light almost covered the entire area where Ink Wolf and Yi Chen were standing. At the same time, countless streams of energy exploded, and a few blood flowers bloomed. Damn it! Ink Wolf held his saber in one hand and his shield in the other as he was sent flying again. Blood spurted out from his shoulder, left rib, and thigh. Those were wounds caused by the speed sword prison. Even with the long saber and shield, he couldn't completely dodge the sword light. Is there no way to wound it? Yi Chen frowned. Although the name of the speed sword prison sounded nice, it was actually just a sword attack that could be thrown out in a split second after comprehending the profound of fast. In terms of power, it was still not as powerful as the original sword attack. After all, the speed was too fast, and the power would be scattered. The speed sword prison was very simple, so Yi Chen didn't have to spend too much time on it. Otherwise, how could he create a sword movement in just 3 days? Naming it Speed Sword Prison was just his ambition for the fast sword. He believed that the weakness of this movement would slowly disappear, and he would be able to use it one day. Wind Kill. Behind him, Ghost Cry found the chance and pointed out a finger attack. This finger attack contained a powerful cutting power, as if it was a huge amount of wind blades. Chin. Sparks flew everywhere. Yi Chen held the sword hilt with his backhand, blocking Ghost Cry's attack. He then used the chance to turn around and throw out a sword attack with his right hand. Gold Resonant Radiant Sword. The Gold Resonant Radiant Sword was Yi Chen's most powerful single-target sword attack. The intense vibrating power attacked out, and the sword chi shattered Ghost Cry's protective Jin Yuan. However, Ghost Cry was not that easy to kill. At that critical moment, he activated his Jin Yuan and let out a shrill sound wave. It was like a ghost's cry, low and deep. It went straight into one's soul, making it hard for one to get out of it. It lowered the warrior's battle consciousness to the lowest level, and made him fall into a deep state of fear. Being disturbed by the sound wave, Yi Chen's sword attack was slowed down by half a beat. Ghost Cry dodged it, and his own reaction was also slowed down by half a beat. Ink Wolf, do it now. Blood shot out of his shoulder, which was caused by the sword chi. Ghost Cry yelled at Ink Wolf. Remnant Soul, come out. Ink Wolf knew that this was a rare opportunity, so he put away his top-rank shield and patted the beast tag on his waist with his left hand. A huge wolf with red hair and eyes on its forehead rushed out. Create Dream World. Ink Wolf ordered. Whoa. Hearing him, the eyes on Dream Eating Wolf's forehead shone with a dim light. The dim light expanded and turned into a dark light covering all three of them. Since the Dream Eating Wolf's target was Yi Chen, Ghost Cry and Ink Wolf were not affected by the dim light at all. What is this place? Yi Chen arrived at a desolate plain, surrounded by huge red wolves. Their eyes shone with a dim light as they stared at Yi Chen cruelly. Whoa. Whoa. The leading red wolf howled once, attacking at Yi Chen first. The other wolves followed right behind, rushing over like a flood. Kill! Yi Chen waved out his sword, killing a huge number of them. However, there were just too many of them. There was no end to them, and their numbers were uncountable. It was impossible to kill them all, and they were not afraid of death at all. No, this is not real. Yi Chen had the slaughter sword spirit, and his slaughter sword intent was more powerful than all of the master-level warriors. The reason why he was confused was because he had never encountered this kind of attack before. If it were someone else, they would not be able to think at all, and would only fall into a surreal world. They would numbly defend and kill until the surreal time was over. A moment inside was not even the blink of an eye outside. Let's kill him now. Ghost Cry was about to make his move. Ink Wolf hurried to say, no, he has just fallen in. If you make a move, he will wake up, and all our efforts will be wasted. Then how long do we have to wait? No hurry. Wait until he sinks deeper, and that will be the time to kill him. Ink Wolf was very confident about the Dream-Eating Wolf's ability to create dreams. The power of the Dream-Eating Wolf did not lie in its power as a rank 10 beast. In fact, although the Dream-Eating Wolf was a rank 10 beast, its power was similar to a rank 9 beast. However, the Dream-Eating Wolf had the ability to create dreams, which was even more powerful than the sea serpent's illusions. The latter could only make people hallucinate, making them think that what they were seeing was real, and their bodies could still move freely. However, the former could make people fall into a dream directly, making them think that they could move, but in fact, it was just a dream, and their bodies could not move at all. Hee, when the time comes, tell me. Ghost Cry reached out his right index finger, and the power of the wind kill started to gather. The white light balls seemed to be made of countless compressed wind blades. With one finger, most of the objects would be pierced through. Break! On that desolate grassland, Yi Chen closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he roared, and a horrifying sound wave spread out. In the outside world, a cold light flashed through Yi Chen's eyes. While Ghost Cry was still in a daze, the long sword in his hand changed from a wave into a stab, piercing through Ghost Cry's throat. Fresh blood spurted out, and Ink Wolf, who was not far away, was shocked. Destroying a dream, what level of willpower does that require? Ink Wolf was very clear that anyone below the master level would not be able to destroy a dream within a second and break out of it. Even for a master level warrior, if they encountered the Dream-Eating Wolf for the first time, they would most likely die. The second master had sent him here because he knew that Yi Chen was raising an extremely rare rank 10 Dream-Eating Wolf. With the dream-eating wolf's ability to create dreams, even if he encountered a master-level warrior, he might still be able to put up a fight, and might even be able to kill him. Could it be that his willpower has already surpassed the master level? Ink Wolf thought of a possibility, and his face turned extremely pale. He did not even care about the dream-eating wolf, whose soul had been injured, and ran away as fast as he could. Putting away his long sword, Yi Chen sneered and flicked his fingers. Swoosh! Beams of Lotus Heart sword chi that were as thin as bullets shot out, forming a dense sword chi tornado. The sword chi tornado instantly covered Ink Wolf, attacking him indiscriminately. His soul power had sensed countless sword chi attacks, so Ink Wolf hurried to take out his top-rank shield to protect his back. However, there were just too many sword chi attacks, and the shield's defensive range was limited. Swoosh! His right arm was cut off from the shoulder, and then his right calf, left calf, neck, head. When the top-rank shield lost control, it fell down from the sky. Ink Wolf was instantly turned into a sieve, and eventually turned into a rain of blood. Stopping the sword chi attack, Yi Chen let out a breath. Those two people and one wolf were indeed horrifying. It was not that he did not want to perform the sword chi tornado right from the start, but he was not confident that he could kill the two of them with one attack. If he performed the sword chi tornado and scared the other one away, it would be a disaster. Therefore, he had been waiting for a chance to kill the two of them with one attack. However, he did not expect that there would be another horrifying red wolf. If he had guessed it right, that red wolf should be a dream-eating wolf that was about to go extinct, and it had the power to create dreams. It was similar to the Shen beast that he had met in the 9 curves and 18 curves. Amidst the blood rain, a light spot and a metal tag fell down. Yi Chen reached out his hand and sucked them into his hand. The light spot was a storage ring, and the metal tag was a beast tag with the word beast carved on it. If he remembered it right, only the beast-controlling martial schools still had the method to make beast tags. A lot of martial institutions would need to buy beast tags from the beast-controlling martial school, and then capture some beasts that could be tamed. Without the tag, even if they could tame the beasts, they would not be able to bring them around, as it would be too eye-catching. There were also different ranks for beast tags. The low-rank ones could only be used to raise beasts below rank 3, the mid-rank ones could be used to raise beasts below rank 7, and the top-rank ones could be used to raise beasts below rank 10. This beast tag was at least a top-rank beast tag, and its value was immeasurable. It was not something that could be bought easily. Good stuff. But in terms of value, it is still not as valuable as the dream-eating wolf. The dream created by the rank 10 dream-eating wolf is way too horrifying. Even master-level warriors would be killed if they were not careful. I wonder how much effort they had put into raising this dream-eating wolf to this level. Looking at the dream-eating wolf, Yi Chen shook his head. This dream-eating wolf was almost half dead. The wound on its soul was not that easy to recover from, and its dream-creating power would be greatly reduced as well. But of course, he could not let it go to waste. He had to find a way to tame it, and one day, it might be able to help him. Chapter 521. Early Sea of Soul Realm Cultivation, Rank 4 Sword Soul, Peak Rank 4, Profound Sense Martial Art, Great Alertness, Assassination Success Rate less than 30%, Personal Death Rate more than 50%. In a corner of Luo City, the color of the shadow suddenly became a bit lighter, as if something had disappeared. A clasping Yuan Realm warrior who was walking by had no idea. Putting away the storage ring and the beast tag, Yi Chen lowered his head and looked in the direction of the Yi family. He could not help but reveal a bitter smile. Half of the Yi family had been flattened, and the ground was full of holes. There were a lot of pitch-black cracks that had spread to the nearby streets. Fortunately, he had blown the two away in time and flown far into the sky. Otherwise, with the power of the aftermath, the whole Luo city would have been destroyed. The destructive power of a Sea of Soul Realm warrior was no joke. Shoo! Yi Chen flew toward the Yi family. Chenair, you're not hurt, right? Yi Tianhao and Shen Yuqing came to greet him. Yi Chen shook his head. How is the Yi family? Is anyone hurt? Fortunately, your initial battle was not that intense. Only a dozen people were heavily wounded, and 30 were lightly wounded. Nothing serious. Letting out a breath, Yichen said seriously, Father, Mother, this Luo city is no longer suitable for our Yi family to stay. You're afraid that someone will slaughter the Yi family if they can't find you. Shen Yuqing thought of the crux of the problem. Indeed. You've seen it for yourself. The destructive power of a Sea of Soul Realm warrior is very shocking. Not to mention the Yi family, even a Luo city can be destroyed easily. Therefore, it will be very dangerous for you to stay here. I don't want to see you suffer because of me. Yi Tianhao frowned, but our Yi family has been living in Luo City for generations. I don't think many people would be willing to move away. How about this? Luo City's Yi family is still here, but we have to build an even bigger one. You guys can live there. Yichen thought for a bit and said. Where to build it? Yi Tianhao and Shen Yuqing looked at Yichen. Somewhere near the Rudra Martial School. In the entire Windy Nation, only the South Rudra Martial School was relatively safe, since everyone knew that it was a branch of the Dragon God's Celestial Palace. Wouldn't it be troublesome? Shen Yuqing was referring to Long Bai. After all, Shen Yuqing was an inner elder of the Rudra Martial School. Don't worry, there won't be any problems. Yi Chen had already displayed sufficient strength and potential, so this request wasn't excessive. In the future, he would pay back everything he owed Dragon God's Celestial Palace, and even double it. The only thing he could do at the moment was to make himself even stronger. All right. Yi Tianhao nodded. In fact, with the Yi clan's current situation, as long as sect leader Long agreed verbally, everything else would not be a problem. The Yi clan did not lack gold or spirit stones. They had enough to build 7 or 8 bigger Yi clans. Half a day later, Long Bai arrived. The news about the battle between Yi Chen and the 2 Sea of Souls realm warriors had just reached the Rudra Martial School. Knowing that Yi Chen had eliminated the enemies, Long Bai didn't think much of it. She thought it was just 2 ordinary Sea of Souls realm warriors. Build the Yi clan near the Rudra Martial School? No problem. I'll go back and have people pick a good place for you. After chatting for a while, Yi Chen expressed his idea, and Long Bai immediately agreed. Protecting the Yi clan and letting Yi Chen roam the outside world in peace was what they should do. Yi Chen's current performance was no longer that of a small genius, but a growing genius. When he reached his peak, it would be the time for the Dragon God's Celestial Palace to reap the harvest. Receiving Long Bai's approval, the Yi clan became busy. Not only the Yi clan, but the entire Luo city was busy as well. The central plaza was destroyed, the golden statue shattered, the casualties, and the compensation for the deaths. All of these required the Luo City Lord Mansion and the Yi clan to make arrangements. Since it was because of Yi Chen, the Yi clan would be directly responsible for the compensation. 3 days later, the construction of the new Yi clan began. The location was chosen to be 200 li east of the Rudra Martial School. It was indeed a good place for feng shui. As for Yi Chen, he didn't participate in these matters and focused on cultivating. In another intact courtyard of the Yi clan in Luo City, it's been 2 months since I entered the Sea of Souls realm. My cultivation base has more or less stabilized. I'm about to eat the spirit pattern fruit to reach the peak of early Sea of Souls realm. Advancing from early Sea of Souls realm to the peak of early Sea of Souls realm actually didn't have much of an increase in battle power. It was just that the Zhen Yuan would be more vigorous. However, having more vigorous Zhen Yuan was also an advantage, as it would allow one to fight for a long time. Taking out the spirit pattern fruit, Yi Chen took a few bites and swallowed it. Gulp. The pieces of the spirit pattern fruit melted once in his mouth, turning into a rich spirit pattern yuan qi that poured into his meridians. As Yi Chen trained his martial art, the yuan qi slowly turned into new Jin yuan. During the night, Yi Chen had successfully reached the peak of early Sea of Souls realm. His rich Jin yuan was like a huge river, running around in his meridians and eventually flowing into the Jin yuan ocean in his dantian. Ho! Letting out a breath, Yi Chen opened his eyes. His gaze was like lightning, lighting up the whole room. It is indeed a top-rank spirit fruit. The yuan qi it contains is thousands of times more than top-rank soul stones, and it is even easier to absorb. After reaching the Sea of Souls realm, Yi Chen's absorption of top-rank soul stones had slowed down a lot, since the Sea of Souls realm Jin Yuan was a couple times purer than the astral-reaching realm Jin Yuan. A whoa! A wolf howl was heard from outside the room, shaking the windows and making a loud noise. Yi Chen chuckled as he pushed open the door and walked out of the room. Inside the yard, a huge wolf with red hair and a lot of eyes on its forehead was lying on the ground. It was howling with its head raised, bringing up waves of qi. Seeing Yi Chen come out, the dream-eating wolf shut up immediately. Not bad. You know that running is useless. Yi Chen did not use any chains to lock the dream-eating wolf, since he did not have chains that were hard enough to lock a rank 10 beast. Normal chains were like pieces of wood in front of it. The dream-eating wolf's spirit was still a bit low as it peeked at Yi Chen in fear. The fear that Yi Chen had brought to it was just too deep. Not only had he broken its dream, but he had also hurt its soul through the dream. Alright, I will break the soul mark on your soul now. Remember, do not resist. Otherwise, you will be the one in trouble. If he wanted the dream-eating wolf to recognize him as its master, the first step would be to get rid of the soul mark that the man in black had left in the dream-eating wolf's soul. Only then would he be able to brand his own soul mark. Woo! The dream-eating wolf howled a couple of times and nodded. Walking in front of the dream-eating wolf, Yi Chen pressed his palm on its forehead. A powerful soul power poured into its body. Soon, his pupils shone with a silver light, which was very different from the soul power he had released before. The dream-eating wolf's body was shaking. It was not because it was hurt, but because Yi Chen's soul power was way too powerful. It was 5 times more powerful than its previous master. Not to mention the fact that it did not want to fight back. Even if it did want to, it would have obediently followed Yi Chen's orders. If it did not want to die, then it could not go against the young man in front of it. In the deepest part of the dream-eating wolf's soul, Yi Chen found a strange soul mark. The soul mark was a very complicated thing. It was like a totem, but also a spell. And, the soul mark on the weapon was different from the one on the soul. The one on the weapon would need to be replenished every once in a while the one on the soul would not need to be replenished at all. It would be rooted in the dream-eating wolf's soul, absorbing the soul power of the dream-eating wolf. In other words, as long as the dream-eating wolf did not die, this soul mark would exist forever, unless someone came to get rid of it. If Yi Chen were only a normal Sea of Souls realm warrior, it would be very hard for him to get rid of the soul mark. But, his soul power was unbelievably powerful. Without harming the dream-eating wolf, he only needed to slightly circulate his soul power to get rid of the original soul mark. Soul mark. After getting rid of the strange soul mark, Yi Chen started the second step, which was to brand his own soul mark. With this soul mark, the dream-eating wolf would not dare to betray him anymore. As long as Yi Chen willed it, it would be in so much pain that it would want to die. The dream-eating wolf lied on the ground obediently, breathing heavily. Branding the soul mark would take a long time. It was not until midnight that Yi Chen stopped, the silver light in his eyes fading away. Alright, you can go out and hunt now. Don't hurt anyone, and don't run too far away. Yi Chen knew that the damage to the dream-eating wolf's soul would not be healed in a short period of time. If there were no soul-healing medicines, it would not be able to recover to its peak state in this lifetime. It might even leave some side effects. Therefore, letting it go out to hunt for food was a must. As for the dream-eating wolf's every move, it would not escape Yi Chen's senses. Deep inside its soul was his own soul mark, and only life and death realm warriors would be able to get rid of it. Hearing him, the dream-eating wolf rubbed against Yi Chen's clothes timidly, making a couple of low growls before turning around and disappearing into the night. A rank 10 demonic beast is indeed a rank 10 beast. Even if its power to create dreams is damaged, it is still way more powerful than a rank 9 beast. Easily sensing where the dream-eating wolf had gone, Yi Chen let out a breath. Next, he would need to get rid of the soul mark on the beast tag. Then, he would only need to keep the dream-eating wolf in the tag, and he would be able to take it everywhere without worrying about attracting attention. It was easy to get rid of the soul mark on the tag. After a quarter of an hour, the tag had completely changed owners, and had become Yi Chen's tag. It is indeed a top-rank tag. The space inside is almost as big as the Yi families, and there is even natural yuan qi flowing in. Entering his beast tag with his soul power, Yi Chen saw the space inside the tag. It was a space that covered thousands of hectares. There were mountains and rivers, and the sky was dark and cloudy. Strands of natural yuan qi leaked in, nourishing the land and maintaining the balance of the space. The tag could not only keep one beast, especially the top-ranked tag with a huge space. As long as the beasts were not allowed to kill each other, it would be able to keep at least dozens of beasts inside. Of course, Yi Chen had calculated it based on the size of normal beasts. If it were a beast with a huge body, it would probably be too crowded with just one or two beasts. Chapter 522. Second Master, this kid is tricky. I do not even have 30% confidence. Inside the dark underground building, the elder in black robes looked like he was thinking. Beside him, there was a lump of shadow, from which came a dry voice, one word at a time. The elder in black robes lifted up his head, his face blurry. Two cold stars shone in his eyes. You are my best assassin, and even you say that you do not have 30% confidence. It seems like he has already matured. People with great luck are hard to kill. It seems like the gods are on their side. But, if our 9-ghost cult wants to kill him, even the gods would not be able to help. What is the plan, Second Master? Wait for the black demon to come out. Black demon. The shadow moved a little bit, and it was obvious that it was emotional. Nightmare, you should not stay idle during this period of time. Bring your assassins and kill one of the candidates for the deputy leader of the Yellow Dragon Palace, Li Shaoling. This kid is no less threatening than Yi Chen. Plus, he has the water spirit body. The elder in black robes had a cold look in his eyes. As long as it was a top martial genius related to the old Dragon King and Xianhou, he would kill them all. It would not be wise to let an enemy with potential grow. If it were not for the fact that the Master Union was so busy, having to deal with all the information coming from all directions, and also having to watch out for the dark power, he would have done it himself already. Star Regional Lake, east of the core area, this place was calm and peaceful. The lake water was deep blue, and there were no islands around. Looking into the distance, one could only see the sparkling water. On the surface of the lake, a small boat was parked there, and an old man was fishing leisurely. The fishing rod was like jade, and the fishing line was shining with a crystal-like luster. However, that fishing hook was not a normal fishing hook, but a finger-long, slightly curved silver-sharp blade. The sharp blade was as thin as paper, and it seemed to be quite heavy. The fishing line was stretched taut, and even the wind could not move it. In the air near the boat, a middle-aged man wearing a scholar robe stood in the air, holding a book in one hand and the other behind his back. He seemed to be immersed in the world of books. Fisherman, you said that the Treasure River Island would appear in a couple of days. But we have been waiting for a whole week, and nothing has happened. Are you sure you are not mistaken? On the surface of the lake not far away, there was a huge flower boat with an antique design. A beautiful woman in red stood at the bow of the boat. She stopped looking at the lake and said to the old man who was fishing. The old man focused his attention on the fishing line and said lightly, "Before the Treasure River Island appears, there will definitely be a 5-colored light shining on the surface of the lake. I will not be wrong. Let's just wait patiently. I have no idea where this island came from. Every time it appears, it seems like it was born out of thin air. But before it appears, it would leave behind some kind of sign. It is really hard to tell." The lady in red looked helpless. The middle-aged man glanced at the red-clothed woman and smiled. The world is full of wonders. There are too many things that you and I do not understand. It is better to read more books. What is the point of reading? If you did not spend so much time reading, you would be a master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior already. Hee hee, I'm just waiting for the right opportunity. Only the fisherman is free. Eh. The middle-aged man suddenly put away his book and stared at the lake in front of him with a sharp gaze. The lady in red and the fisherman had also noticed the anomaly. They did not even blink their eyes as they started to look more serious. Under the lake, a huge black shadow appeared out of nowhere. It was so huge that one could not even see the edge of it. They could only see the tip of the iceberg. Treasure River Island? Before the lady in red came, she had already checked the bottom of the lake and made sure that there was no trace of it. This black shadow was just too strange, as if it came from another world. Rumble. Soon, the endless black shadow appeared on the surface of the lake. The five-colored light spread out, dyeing the air, the lake water, and the clouds into a colorful color. It was like a dream, and it was not real at all. It is indeed the Treasure River Island. The middle-aged man gasped as his sight was filled with 5 different colors. Through it, he saw an island that looked like a small continent. The island was covered in a layer of 5-colored light, making it impossible to see what was inside. It was exactly the same as the Treasure River Island that was described in the ancient books. The lady in red sounded excited. There are countless spirit plants on this island, including some extinct ones. If you are lucky, you might be able to find 1 or 2 top-ranked spirit plants. According to the rumors, someone had found the 9-twist reverse spirit plant, dragon blood plant, youth flower, and many other rare top-ranked spirit plants. The fisherman chuckled. Spirit plants are just one of them. The Treasure River Island is a mysterious island where all the treasures are gathered. Alright, let's start to break the spell. This 5-colored light's defense and attacking power are not normal. Although we are all top spirit warriors, we cannot afford to be careless. The appearance of the Treasure River Island, no matter how troublesome it would be worth it. The lady in red and the middle-aged man chuckled, feeling very happy. Right then, some people were attracted by the 5-colored light from afar. It was a group of Sea of Souls realm warriors who had been wandering around the core area of the Star Regional Lake. The Star Regional Lake was one of the few lakes in the whole true spirit continent. It had a radius of millions of miles, and there were countless dangerous places, especially in the center of the core area. Even life and death realm warriors might not be able to make it back alive. Although the core area was relatively less dangerous, warriors below the Sea of Souls realm would not be able to go in and out as they wished, since the death rate would be extremely high. Therefore, most of the warriors who appeared in this area were Sea of Souls realm warriors. There were warriors from the South Rudra region, the Misty Snow region, the Wavy Cloud region, and even the Mountain region. This group of Sea of Souls realm warriors had been traveling together for years, exploring all kinds of dangerous places in the Star Regional Lake. The 5-colored light from the island was too bright, and as long as they were within hundreds of miles, they would be able to sense it easily. Therefore, they rushed over immediately. This is the Treasure River Island. It is the Treasure River Island. Oh my God! Now that the Treasure River Island has appeared, our opportunity has come. One of the Sea of Souls realm warriors seemed to have thought of something, and his face lit up as he explained to his partner. What? It is the legendary Treasure River Island. The last time it appeared was 100 years ago, right? No one knew when the island would show up, so it was all up to luck. Therefore, no one knew when the island would show up, and how many years it would take to show up. After all, it was possible that when the island appeared, there would be no one around, and then it would disappear again. Ha! The lady in red sneered as she exchanged a look with the middle-aged man and the elder. Your fortuitous encounter ends here, said Yishuan. The elder stood up and waved the fishing rod in his hand. The silver sharp blade that was attached to the fishing line shot out. The fishing line seemed to be bouncy, as it could reach dozens of miles with ease. Because of its crystal-like appearance, the fishing line was barely visible, which was hard to notice. Pooh! The silver sharp blade made an arc in the air, piercing through the throat of a Sea of Souls realm warrior. Then, with the bouncy effect of the fishing line, it shot backward, slicing through the other two Sea of Souls realm warriors. Blood splashed everywhere. The Sea of Souls realm warrior who had his throat pierced through clutched his neck and fell down from the sky in shock. He did not even see how the elder had attacked him. Meanwhile, the other two Sea of Souls realm warriors nearby were suddenly sliced in half. The cut surface was smooth like a mirror. Looking at the fishing line that had been pulled back, a blood-colored light shone on it as a drop of blood splashed out. The silver-sharp blade and the fishing line could both kill. Run! After a slight pause, the other Sea of Souls realm warriors started to run for their lives. The elder was way too powerful. He had killed 3 of their partners within a second. Plus, that silver-sharp blade and fishing line seemed to be extremely sharp, which meant that they might be top-rank weapons as well. Shoo! 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 After 3 of them had died, there were only 6 Sea of Souls realm warriors left, and they started to run toward the distance. 100 flowers. The lady in red had a cold expression on her face as she shook her hand and shot out a huge amount of bright light shards. They were crystal chips that looked like all kinds of flower petals. With a flash, they landed among the 6 warriors. All of a sudden, another 2 warriors had fallen down, and another 2 had been badly wounded. Their running speed had been reduced drastically. Flash sword. The middle-aged man's weapon was a sword, a thin and long sword. His long and slim hand held onto the sword handle as he waved out a sword attack. Pooh! A bright light shone, and the 2 badly wounded warriors were sliced into pieces. The remaining beam of light caught up with one warrior who was slower than them and cut off half of his body. The 3 of them had killed 8 Sea of Souls realm warriors with just one attack. It was as easy as eating and drinking. However, the last Sea of Souls realm warrior was extremely fast as he disappeared into the sky. The elder's eyes shone as he said slowly, "His flying art contains the profound of thunder. No wonder he is so fast. Let's not waste any more time. Let's break through the colorful light first and get into the island." The lady in red and the middle-aged man nodded. They did not look too good, and the carefree mood they had before had disappeared completely. Thousands of miles away, the Sea of Souls realm warrior who had just escaped was still scared, his face pale. So scary. I did not even have the power to fight back. The good thing is that I am at mid-Sea of Souls realm, and my flying art contains the profound of thunder. These 3 are so powerful. Once I get into the island, I will definitely die if I run into them. But, giving up on the island is not my style either. It is such a rare opportunity, so I will have to try. What should I do? What should I do to grab this opportunity? Oh right. Spread the news out. The man's eyes brightened as he said excitedly, "There are a lot of treasures on the island. It might not be a bad thing if more people go there. No matter how big the cake is, it would have to be big enough for one person to eat. Since I cannot eat it all, why don't I spread the news out? I don't believe that the 3 of them would be able to kill everyone else. Let's do this." After making up his mind, the man did not stop and flew toward the nearest mountain region. The news about the Treasure River Island had spread out very fast. Normally, it would be great if there were only a few people who knew about the secret. However, this time, it seemed like someone had been pushing it in the dark, so a lot of people knew about it. But of course, they were all close to the Star Regional Lake. If the distance was too far, the news would not be able to spread out. Since the person behind the scenes did not want everyone to know about it, those who knew about it all kept it a secret and headed toward the place where the island would appear. Inside the martial city of the Black Dragon Empire, Treasure River Island. Yi Chen had just arrived in the martial city of the Black Dragon Empire recently. He wanted to go through the city and trade for some pellets or medicines with some Sea of Souls realm warriors. These things were for his parents so that they could reach the astral reaching realm as soon as possible. After all, he already had the power and the identity of a Sea of Souls realm warrior, so why not do more for his parents? All of these things would be very easy for him. Just before, when he was about to talk with a Sea of Souls realm warrior in the martial city, someone sent a Jin Yuan message to them, telling them that the island had appeared somewhere in the Star Regional Lake. Sorry, I will leave now. The Sea of Souls realm warrior who was talking with Yi Chen had heard the news and left in a hurry. Yi Chen did not mind, since there were a lot of treasures on the island. Perhaps he would be able to find some medicines that could help his parents increase their cultivation. If it were before, I would have to think about it. But now that I am not that weak anymore, it is a must for me to enter the island. His eyes flashed as Yi Chen left the room. Chapter 523. The huge island had a circumference of nearly 1,000 miles. Because the multicolored light was too dazzling, the air could be seen from hundreds of miles away. Around the island, people kept coming over. Looking from afar, they looked like tiny black dots. It was already half a month after Yi Chen found the Treasure River Island. The island was not ridiculously huge, at least Yi Chen had seen a lot of islands that were bigger than this one. But, none of the islands were covered in a layer of endless colorful light. It was exactly because of the existence of the colorful light that made the Treasure River Island look so majestic and magnificent, and it could shock one's soul. Boom! Not far away, a Sea of Soul realm expert launched an attack, wanting to break through the restriction. However, the multicolored light was exceptionally tough, bouncing him back. Not only that, the multicolored light separated into numerous multicolored ribbons that chased after him. The colorful light bands were extremely fast as they intertwined with each other. Soon, that warrior was covered in sweat and blood. He backed out a couple of miles with an ugly expression on his face. Meanwhile, similar scenes kept happening around the island. Less than 30% of the warriors were able to break in. Taking out his emerald green longsword, Yi Chen took a deep breath and threw out a sword attack toward the colorful light. A chi explosion sound was heard as an extremely thin gap was torn open in the colorful light. The edge of the gap was intertwined with colorful silk threads. Like a piece of cotton cloth being torn apart, the threads were still connected. Chi! Chi! The colorful threads weaved back together and shot out even more colorful threads, turning into a light belt that attacked toward Yi Chen. Yi Chen's body flashed, avoiding the incoming light bands. What a strange power! It is actually made up of countless energy strings. My sky thunder cut with all of my power could only make a small crack. It is not enough for my whole body to get in. Swoosh! Cutting apart the light band in front of him, Yi Chen suddenly increased his speed, traveling through a couple of light bands. His long sword carried a golden blue light as it landed on the colorful light. A long crack appeared on the surface of the colorful light. The colorful strings kept being destroyed and regenerated, maintaining the balance for a while. Shoo! Yi Chen turned into a beam of light and shot in. Ha! He can actually barge in. The Sea of Souls realm warrior, who was in a sorry state before, noticed what was happening, and a shocked expression flashed through his face. As soon as he entered the multicolored light, above the island, Yi Chen's body sank, as if there was an invisible force pulling him down, or as if there was a heavy mountain pressing down on his back. His Jin Yuan and blood qi stagnated, and his breathing became stagnant. Yi Chen steadied himself when he was 10 meters away from the island's surface. Looking back, where the multicolored glow originally was, the sea of clouds was surging, and the fog was hazy. In the sea of clouds, there was an unhealed crack. Obviously, this crack was left when Yi Chen passed through the sea of clouds. Following the crack, Yi Chen saw the scene outside through the much softer multicolored glow. The scene was distorted and blurred, as if it had been refracted many times. Withdrawing his gaze, Yi Chen began to size up his current location. In his eyes, mountains were rising and falling one after another. Some of them were tall and green, while others were short and strange. On top of the mountains, there were waterfalls and fountains, looking very beautiful. From time to time, there would be beautiful spirit light and treasure light shooting out, as if there was some kind of treasure there, shining with its own radiance. Because he could not fly in the sky, Yi Chen could only see the mountains in a small area. His soul power was also greatly reduced in this place, and his detection range was not more than 5 miles. Without much hesitation, Yichen flew toward the area where the spirit light had shot out, trying his best to hide his aura along the way. After half the time it would take to make tea, Yichen found the source of the spirit light. In the crevice of the mountain rocks, there was a spirit flower with waxy white leaves and green flowers. This spirit flower was the size of a palm, and the tiny blood vessels on its stem were clearly visible, just like the meridians of a human body. Because there was too much spirit energy, this spirit flower was constantly releasing a condensed spirit light. Tendon refining flower. Yichen recognized the origin of this spirit flower. It was the tendon refining flower that he had obtained in the foggy area. The tendon refining flower was a mid-rank spirit flower, and one could be sold for 5,000 mid-rank soul stones. If it could be made into a tendon refining pellet with other precious materials, it could even be sold for 30,000 mid-rank soul stones. The meridians of the human body were very important, but they were also relatively fragile. If the meridians were not smooth, then the battling power would not be able to be used to its peak. If the meridians were broken, it would be a catastrophic injury for a warrior, and it would be very hard to recover. However, a tendon refining pellet could not only heal the broken meridians in a short period of time, but it could also strengthen the meridians, making them extremely tough. Although this tendon refining flower is a mid-rank spirit flower, it has probably reached the 10,000-year level. Even if it is not as powerful as the extreme rank spirit flower, it is not far from it. Yichen moved his mind and waved his hand. The tendon refining flower flew out of the soil and landed on his hand. He then put it into his storage ring. Inside the storage ring, there were many flower pots of different sizes, and the soil was very rich. In the corner, there were many jade bottles, which contained the spirit liquid that could help the plants grow. He had bought these spirit liquids from some special places. As for the nutrition liquid that Wang Heng had given him before, he had already used it up. Planting the tendon refining flower in the pot and filling it with soil, Yichen withdrew his mind power and flew toward the next area where the spirit light exploded. So many spirit plants. Almost every mountain has spirit light shooting out. This is something unimaginable in the outside world. The two Sea of Souls realm warriors looked at each other, their faces full of joy. What are you waiting for? Let's go and pick them. Suppressing their excitement, the two pushed their Jin Yuan and flew at a low altitude. Ah! A wail was heard from another area. Right next to a blood-red spirit plant, there was a human and a beast. It was a Sea of Souls realm warrior with a pale face. One of his arms had been bitten off by something, and it was not blood that poured out from the wound. Instead, it was dirty pus, which was extremely disgusting. As time went on, his shoulders started to corrode, and more pus started to pour out. In front of him was a 10-meter-long blood-red poisonous snake. Its upper body was huge, and its tongue was sticking out of its mouth. A creepy light shone in its eyes. Damn it! Why is there a rank 9 blood dragon snake right next to the dragon blood plant? The warrior's face was full of despair. The blood dragon snake was an ancient beast, and its poison was extremely powerful. Without a special antidote, the victim would die for sure. Unless they reached the life and death realm and trained the undying body, they would be able to ignore the poison. Die! Knowing that he was going to die for sure, the warrior pushed his Jin Yuan and tried to fight back. Boom! The blood dragon snake's body did not move, but it waved its tail. Without even a shadow, this Sea of Souls realm warrior's chest caved in and he was blown away. Blood dragon snake. Hundreds of meters away, Yichen stood on top of a hill. The hill was filled with lush greenery, covering him completely. Only his eyes could be seen. The blood dragon snake's name was well known to Yichen. Among all the poisonous creatures in the world, the blood dragon snake could be ranked in the top 10. It was said that no one under the life and death realm would be able to handle its poison. And, when the blood dragon snake reached adulthood, it would have the power of a rank 9 demonic beast, which was no weaker than the water ape race. Judging only based on rank 9 might not be that high, but it was an ancient beast with an extremely powerful battling power. Normal water apes would not be able to compete with it. My power is only at the same level as the blood dragon snake. If I want to get the dragon blood plant, I will need to think of a plan. Although Yi Chen had reached the Sea of Souls realm and had the power of a top spirit warrior, compared to Sun Shaojin, he might not be as powerful as him. Judging from this, the blood dragon snake's power would definitely not be weaker than his, not to mention that it had the top 10 poison, which would definitely be a powerful ace. After thinking for a while, Yi Chen still could not come up with a good plan. Once a demonic beast reached rank 9, its intelligence would be no different from a normal human being's. So, it would be hard for him to trick it with his cheap tricks. I guess I will have to use my separating shadow flying art to get it. After making up his mind, Yi Chen walked out of the grass and pushed his Xin Yuan to its limit, jumping out into the air. Squeak! 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 The blood dragon snake noticed Yi Chen right away. Its scales opened up, and its body expanded. A purple-green beast cheese spread out from its body. Pooh! A poison arrow shot out like lightning. All the plants in its path started to wither, unable to handle the poison chi. Separate! His body was like a shadow as Yi Chen's real body shot out from the shadow and appeared behind the blood dragon snake, right near the dragon blood plant. The blood flood dragon snake's reaction was extremely fast. The scales on its back trembled and fell off. With a tremble in the air, they shot out with crackling sounds. Indeed hard to deal with. Yi Chen did not dare to underestimate the attacking power of the scales. Only his upper body was wearing the top-rank defensive treasure, the gold armor. His limbs and head were not protected at all. Once his protective Xin Yuan was broken, he would definitely be badly wounded. After all, he had only trained his immortal body to the first level, which was flesh recovery. It was not really immortal. Turning shadow. His body turned thin, turning into a shadow as Yi Chen shot out toward the dragon blood plant. Above him, the sound of the scales breaking through the air could be heard. Yi Chen's separating shadow flying art was too amazing. Even if the blood dragon snake had thousands of attacks, it would not be able to stop him in time. It could only move its body and chase after him. Seeing that the dragon blood plant was about to be in his hands, a crystal-like light appeared in the air out of nowhere. It was faintly discernible, looking extremely creepy. Yi Chen sensed it and twisted his body, trying to avoid it. Swoosh! All of a sudden, a hair-thin crack appeared on the ground. At the end of the crack was the location of the dragon blood plant. With a flash of silver light, it stabbed into the soil underneath the plant, digging out the plant along with the soil. The speed was so fast that it was almost beyond Yi Chen's sight. This dragon blood plant, this old man will gladly accept it. The voice came from afar. What made Yi Chen's expression change was that before the old man left, he had thrown out a chi wall to block his way. If he backed off, it would be the furious blood dragon snake. Old man, you are too unkind. You stole my things, and now you want to kill me. Yi Chen's soul power could cover 5 times more than Sea of Souls realm warriors, reaching 5 miles. Therefore, the appearance of the old man was clearly seen by him. As for the old man, he knew nothing about him, since Yi Chen's soul power was 1 level higher than his after all. Chapter 524. Ji. Behind him was the ferocious blood dragon snake, and in front of him was the thick chi wall. If he went left or right, he would be blocked by the blood dragon snake. Yi Chen had nowhere to go. I can't fight with the blood dragon snake. Ancient beasts have the strongest defense. Without 1 to 4 hours, it would be hard to kill it. If both of us get injured, it would only benefit that old guy. Thinking quickly, Yi Chen withdrew his protective Xin Yuan. Layers of sword light floated around his body. Shoo! The sword light carried his body and shot toward the chi wall. Pang! The mud behind him splashed out. The blood dragon snake's tail was as red as jade and as hard as diamond, leaving a deep hole in the ground. Swoosh! The sword light was condensed with the supreme slaughter sword will. The moment it touched the wall of chi, it only paused for a moment before it broke through the wall of chi and smoothly passed through. Through the chi wall, Yi Chen locked onto the figure of the elder in the distance and chased after him at an extreme speed. Behind him, although the blood dragon snake's speed was not slow, it could not compete with Yi Chen's sword light flying art. Within 2 to 3 breaths' time, it had been thrown a couple of miles away, its creepy eyes filled with anger. Old guy, hand over the dragon blood plant, and I will pretend this never happened. Soon, Yi Chen was only 1 mile behind the elder. The scenery on both sides was moving backward rapidly like a bubble. The elder was wearing a straw raincoat and a bamboo hat. Without even turning his head, he chuckled and said, "Little brother, you can instantly break through the chi wall and escape from the blood dragon snake's pursuit. Your strength is not bad, but it is still not enough in front of this old man. If you know what's good for you, you should leave immediately before I get angry." "Oh? Seems like you have made up your mind not to return it." Yi Chen's tone was calm, giving people an unfathomable feeling. Treasures belong to the fated. The dragon blood plant should belong to me. Then die. After chasing for 300 meters, Yi Chen pointed out his left index finger in the air. A waist-thick cyan Jin Yuan finger shot out, creating a water-like pattern in the air. This is space mentality. The elder looked back and his pupils shrank. Without enough time to dodge, he swung his left hand backward. Dang! The old man's hand shone with a golden light and a golden shield appeared. The Jin Yuan finger smashed on the golden shield, making a teeth-aching metal explosion sound. Sparks flew everywhere like fireworks. Staggering back a few steps, the old man stood on top of a boulder and looked at Yi Chen. "Since you really want to die, this old man will fulfill your wish." There were a lot of treasures on the island, and the elder did not want to get involved with Yi Chen. However, that was under the condition that Yi Chen would not bother him. "It's not up to you to decide who lives and who dies." Stopping his steps, Yi Chen's eyes shone with a murderous vibe, and his expression turned a little more serious. His void-shattering finger art had already reached 40% completion, and its power was only slightly weaker than his gold-resonant radiance art, which had reached 80% completion. It was expected that his opponent would not die, but it was surprising that he had only taken a couple of steps back. This old man's fishing rod has killed countless people. Today, I will add another life to my tally. The old man shook the fishing rod in his hand and looked at Yi Chen expressionlessly. It was as if he was looking at a fish that had delivered itself to him. "I am afraid that the result will disappoint you." Yi Chen did not take the initiative to attack. The elder was very powerful, and his fishing rod was even more mysterious and unpredictable. Before figuring out what was going on, attacking recklessly would only bring him more opportunities. "Who?" A wave of strong wind blew across, and the air was filled with the unique color of the island. The old man made his move. The fishing rod in his hand shook once, and a silver light disappeared into the surreal space, shooting towards Yi Chen's neck without a sound. The fishing line was stretched perfectly straight, merging with the color in the air. It was hard to tell where the line was with naked eyes. Yi Chen indeed did not expect his opponent to attack this fast. He leaned his body back and flicked his left finger. The sword chi and the silver light clashed together. Ding! The silver light was bounced away. It was a sharp silver blade, and there seemed to be a transparent fishing line tied to it. Occasionally, it would shine with a crystal light. The old man sneered. The skinny hand that was holding the fishing rod sank down, and his Jin Yuan flowed rapidly along the fishing line. All of a sudden, the tip of the silver blade shone with a cold light. It shook once in the air, attacking towards Yi Chen again. Ding! 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 The silver blade was like a maggot on a bone, never leaving Yi Chen's body. His protective Jin Yuan was like a thin piece of paper in front of the silver blade. Shadow! His body turned into a shadow. Yichen suddenly lowered his body and shot out while sticking close to the ground. Earthquake sand. A skinny palm pressed on the ground, and a muddy yellow halo spread out. Along with a rumbling sound, the hard ground shook for hundreds of times before turning into pure sand. The sand wave shot up into the sky. Yichen had to wake up from his shadow state and back out in the air. This guy is powerful. It was the first time that Yichen had met a warrior who was at the same level as him. His opponent had a lot of battle experience, and was very cunning. Every time he attacked, it would be at the perfect time and angle. While not showing any flaws, he kept pressing forward. Withdraw. The old man shook his head slightly and pulled back his fishing rod. In front of him, the silver blade circled around with Yichen as the center, and the transparent fishing line wrapped around Yichen. As long as the circle shrank, even if Yichen's defense was twice as strong, he would still be cut in half. Shadow splitting. At that critical moment, Yichen left behind a shadow while his real body shot up into the sky, reaching a height of 10 meters. Old man, it's my turn. Once in the air, Yichen flicked both of his hands. The instant the space rippled, the Lotus Heart Sword Chi shot out towards the old man like a torrential rain. Danger! The old man took a deep breath and threw out a palm attack on the ground. Rumble! A sand wall with a yellow halo appeared, blocking in front of the sword chi. There were so many sword chi that the sand wall could only block for a blink of an eye. After that, it was punctured into a sieve and landed on the old man's protective Jin Yuan. Earth walking art. The old man was hit by a couple of sword chi attacks. In his shock, his feet sank into the sand, disappearing without a trace. In midair, Yichen sneered. The Lotus Heart Sword Chi's attacking range expanded like a summer storm, turning the area where the old man had disappeared into thousands of holes. Earth-shattering palm. A figure covered in blood rushed out from the sand under Yichen's feet, throwing out a palm attack. The palm power was extremely powerful, and it seemed to be able to shatter anything that touched it. Gold Resonant Radiant Sword. Yichen was already prepared for the old man to jump out of the sand and attack him. His body slid back a step and he held his long sword in his right hand before throwing it down. Boom! The golden-green sword beam and the earthy yellow palm energy collided. One contained a vibrating force, while the other contained a crushing and explosive force. The resulting energy exploded, forming a golden, green, and yellow light ball that swallowed both of them and expanded rapidly. Pooh! The old man puked out a mouthful of blood and fell down into the sand. Yichen's body bent and shot up into the sky, enduring the extreme pressure. Take another sword attack of mine. Yichen was the first one to recover from his paralysis. He followed the pressure and threw out another sword attack. The bright sword light was like a solar storm. Before the sword chi even arrived, a sword hole had already appeared on the surface of the sand. Countless grains of sand had been shattered into tiny particles by the vibrating sword pressure. This brat is tricky. The old man had to dig deeper. He was only a few hundred meters deep when the huge power started to spread out on the sand layer by layer. Sensing that the old man was still alive, Yichen threw out one sword attack after another, showing the power of the gold resonant radiant sword without a doubt. Damn! Right then, the old man's expression finally changed as he took out a small tower from his storage ring. It was only 1 foot tall, but the aura it gave off was as heavy as a mountain. No, it was 10 times heavier than a mountain. As he poured his Jin Yuan into it, the small tower shone brightly and expanded. It broke through the surface of the sand, revealing its tip and body. What is this thing? Yichen hurried to increase the distance between him and the old man. Boom! Waves of sand rose up as the whole tower appeared in the air. On the first floor of the tower, the old man was covered in blood, stuffing pellets into his mouth. It has the aura of an extreme rank weapon. It is a semi-extreme rank weapon. Yichen realized that the tower was a great item, and an extremely rare defensive great item at that. Defensive great items were not limited to great armors, and could be in other shapes. The ones that could change their sizes were only extreme rank great items and replicas of extreme rank great items. Yichen wondered where this old man had found a semi-extreme rank weapon. Although they were only replicas of extreme rank weapons, they still had 30 to 40% of the power of the real thing. Some of the top semi-extreme rank weapons might even have 50 to 60% of the power. Even life and death realm warriors would not be able to ignore it. Little brother, I am willing to return the dragon blood plant to you. How about we call it even? The old man poured his Jin Yuan into the tower while talking to Yichen through the tower. Yichen's eyebrows flicked. You are willing to return the dragon blood plant? With the appearance of the semi-extreme rank weapon, Yichen thought that it would be a long battle, since it would be impossible for him to break the tower open. So, the old man would definitely be able to recover for a while before coming out. Indeed, I am willing to return it. The old man was very straightforward as he took out the blood-colored dragon blood plant and shot it out of the tower. Letting the plant fall onto the ground, Yichen cautiously approached it. After confirming that nothing was wrong, he sucked it into his hand. It is indeed the dragon blood plant. What is this old man thinking? Yichen's eyes flickered. The old man was a bit worried, but he still said with a calm face, you can see that my tower's defense is very powerful. You will not be able to break in, and I will not be able to attack you either. So, the best solution is to stop the battle. No need to say more. I am not interested. Yichen did not expect the old man to tell him the truth. If the tower had not appeared, he would have spent some time to kill the old man. But now that the situation had changed, he had to consider the consequences of attacking forcefully. Who knew what other tricks the old man had up his sleeves? If he really had to fight to the death, it would not be something he wanted to see. So, getting his dragon blood plant and injuring the old man was already the best outcome. Shoo! His body flashed once as Yichen turned into a beam of light and disappeared. Letting out a breath, the old man looked at the direction where Yichen had left with a dark look in his eyes. Yuan Splitting Tower is an extreme rank item, but it is the worst among all the replicas. Each time I use it, it will be damaged a little. After using it this time, I wonder how long it will last. The reason why the old man wanted to return the dragon blood plant was not because of anything else, but because he cherished the Yuan Splitting Tower. Even if the tower was damaged, it was still a life-saving treasure. Unless it was a life or death situation, he would not use it. So, naturally, he would not waste time with Yichen. Putting away the Yuan Splitting Tower, the old man left the place quickly, disappearing into the horizon. Chapter 525. A couple of miles away, the image of the elder leaving appeared in Yichen's mind. He could see the subtle changes in the elder's expression and eyes. Dragon blood grass, a spirit plant that contains the blood of a dragon. The blood of a dragon is just like a spirit crystal stone, having a huge effect on the improvement of the spirit body. This dragon blood grass is almost 3,000 years old, which is at least equivalent to 30 normal spirit crystals. Most importantly, the blood of a dragon contains the power of a dragon. Even if there is only a trace of it, it is still very precious to a body training expert. Yichen was very clear about the value of the dragon blood grass. Using it as a spirit crystal stone would be a bit overkill. The power of a dragon contained in the blood of a dragon was the most essential part of it. When the old man chose to give up on the dragon blood grass, he must have had a moment of hesitation and heartache. However, this had nothing to do with Yichen. It was fine as long as he got the dragon blood grass. Shoo! His body flashed as Yichen turned into a shadow and shot out. In the next half a day, every time Yichen passed by a mountain, he would obtain a few valuable spirit plants. These spirit plants were at least 2,000 to 3,000 years old, while the older ones were at least 10,000 years old. Of course, once the spirit plants reached 10,000 years old, they basically could not continue to grow anymore. In fact, many of the same spirit plants could not even live for a few hundred years. Those that could live for a few thousand years were the best of the same kind. Therefore, they could withstand the passage of time. After passing through dozens of mountains, Yichen came to a flat area surrounded by mountains. The spirit chi in this area was very dense, and there was a drizzle in the air. This drizzle was not normal rain, but spirit rain condensed from spirit chi. Opening his hand and grabbing a handful of spirit rain, Yichen could clearly feel that the spirit rain had turned into spirit chi and merged into his body, being refined into pure Jin Yuan. What a terrifying spirit chi! Training here would not be slower than training with top-rank spirit stones. Moreover, after a long time, the body would be nourished by the spirit chi, and it would be able to improve the spirit body even faster. Yichen sighed inwardly, feeling quite emotional. The flat area occupied a very wide area. After flying for 4 to 5 miles, Yichen finally arrived at the center of the area. Here, he finally understood why the spiritual energy in this area was so thick that it was drizzling. It turned out that this was a medicinal garden surrounded by a vine fence. The vine fence was very high, around 50 meters high. Yichen didn't think that he could fly over, but of course, he didn't need to. In front of him was an entrance propped up by 2 giant trees. Through the entrance, he could see the colorful and brilliant colors of the medicinal garden. So many spirit herbs. I've struck it rich this time. Once I get out and exchange them for upper spirit stones, I won't have to worry for the rest of my life. What's the point of exchanging them for upper-grade spirit stones? Exchanging them for pills to increase one's strength with a rank 5 sect is the way to go. That's true. Hurry up, there are more and more people. Yichen was not the first to discover the herb garden. There were already many people inside, all busy picking herbs and enjoying themselves. Star spirit fruit. Meridian cutting plant. No one wants to pick them. Yichen noticed some of the spirit plants on the edge. There were a lot of different kinds of spirit plants, and a few of them caught Yichen's attention. They were the star spirit fruit, which could help peak-level late-clasping Yuan realm warriors to reach the astral reaching realm, and the meridian cutting plant, which could increase the training potential of warriors below the Sea of Souls realm. But it was not that surprising, since all of the people here were Sea of Souls realm warriors. Who would want to pick the top and mid-rank spirit plants? Everyone would be fighting for the ones that would be useful to them. Come here. Yichen waved his hand, using his Jin Yuan to loosen up the soil. He was about to pull out a couple of mid-rank spirit plants through the air. But what surprised him was that the soil in the garden had been nourished by the spirit chi, making it extremely hard. As the soil cracked open, the broken parts turned into crystal particles, making a cracking sound. No wonder these people are stepping on them one by one. If I were to try to take them through the air, it would only cause a huge amount of waste. Yichen shook his head and forced a smile as he also bent down to pick them. Mid-rank iron wire plant. Mid-rank detoxification plant. Top-rank yuan fruit. Top-rank purple heart wood. Top-rank heaven immortal tea. There were just too many spirit plants in the garden. If he were to pick them one by one, it would take him at least 10 days to half a month. But Yichen was not in a hurry. Once the Treasure River Island appeared, it would stay for 3 months. After that, it would disappear again. For him, time was more than enough. Who? Right then, a vibrating sound was heard from the center of the garden. It sounded like a bee, but was hundreds of times louder than a bee. There was also the sound of metal vibrating mixed in. The buzzing sound was getting louder and louder, eventually covering the whole area. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked toward the direction of the sound. Gold, a bright gold color. Countless bright gold objects attacked toward everyone at a speed as fast as golden lightning. Ah! A couple of Sea of Souls realm warriors who were the closest to it widened their eyes and fell onto the ground. Their bodies were full of holes, and the color was light gold. Through some of the wounds, one could see a couple of pinky finger-sized golden thorns. It was indeed these thorns that had pierced through their protective Jin Yuan and bodies. It is the golden needle bee. Run! Someone let out a shrill scream as he tried his best to fly back. The others woke up from the shock and turned around to run as fast as they could. Yi Chen squeezed his eyes as he saw the so-called golden needle bee. It was the size of a palm, and its whole body looked like it was made of gold. The vibrating sound came from their wings, which vibrated at an extremely high frequency. Even with Yi Chen's soul power, he could barely tell what it was. There were a lot of them. With a rough estimation, there were at least hundreds of thousands of them. They turned into a wave of golden light, attacking toward Yi Chen. Run! Yi Chen did not have any other thoughts in his mind. The only thing he could do was to run as fast as he could. If he were too slow, he might lose his life in the garden and become the fertilizer for the spirit plants. Soon, Yi Chen arrived at the closest vine fence. He took out his emerald longsword and threw out a sword attack. Crack! The vine fence was unbelievably tough. Yi Chen's sword attack only managed to cut through a couple of arm-thick vines, which were as smooth as a mirror. Looking at the thickness of the fence, Yi Chen could not help but feel helpless. Compared to the whole fence, the few vines that had been cut off were only like a strand of hair on a human's body, which meant nothing at all. The screams were getting louder and louder. A lot of them stopped abruptly on the way, but soon, more screams were heard without stopping for even a second. In the ancient era, the golden needle bee was 10 times more famous than the blood dragon snake. This kind of beasts might not be that powerful individually, but when they moved together, it would be a nightmare for the enemies. Their stingers contained a deadly poison that could easily pierce through the protective Jin Yuan. Their bodies were as hard as steel, and warriors with a higher cultivation might not be able to cut through their bodies. Moreover, their constantly flapping wings could leave a bone-deep wound on one's body. Damn it! Yi Chen gave up on cutting through the fence and flew towards the entrance a couple of miles away. Right now, he was starting to hate the size of the herb garden and the density of the spirit qi. The garden was huge, and it would take a while to fly to the entrance. The density of the spirit qi would create a huge obstacle, which would increase as one's speed increased, making it impossible for Yi Chen to break through the speed of sound. When Yi Chen was less than 100 meters away from the entrance, a group of golden needle bees had their eyes on Yi Chen. Buzz! 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 Like a golden bomber, the golden needle bees separated into 3 groups. One of them shot out with a speed that was too fast for people to react. Piss off! Yi Chen threw out a sword attack, and a golden cyan sword light shot out. Pooh! Chin! What made Yi Chen gasp was that besides one golden needle bee that was cut in half by the long sword, the rest of them were only blown away by the sword light. They flew back dizzily, with faint sword marks on their bodies. These guys are way too tough. Yi Chen understood that if he wanted to kill the golden needle bees, he would have to use close-range attacks. Sword Qi and sword light would not be able to kill them at all. Shoo! 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 Golden thorns shot out one after another, making Yi Chen's scalp go numb. He shook his wrist and performed the speed sword hell, and the sword light shot out. The attacking power of the speed sword hell was not high, but blocking the golden thorns was not that hard. While fighting and retreating, Yi Chen finally reached the entrance. Without thinking, he rushed out with all his power. Once outside, the spirit qi was much thinner, and Yi Chen's speed started to increase again. But, what made him feel helpless was that the golden needle bee's speed was also increasing at the same time, which actually shortened the distance between them. Biting on his teeth, Yi Chen let go of his protective Jin Yuan layer and performed his sword light flying spell, turning into a beam of sword light to escape. The golden needle bees were persistent, as if they would not stop until they caught up to Yi Chen. A wave of sword light and a wave of golden light, the two began a chase. After passing over a couple of mountains, Yi Chen arrived at a vast lake. He could not help but have an idea. After all, the golden needle bees needed to flap their wings to increase their speed. Under the water, flapping their wings would cause an unimaginable amount of resistance. On the other hand, warriors relied on Jin Yuan to move forward, so the resistance would not be as much as the golden needle bees. Splash! Yi Chen shot into the water. As expected, the golden needle bees that were chasing him stopped. A couple of them that could not stop in time followed Yi Chen into the water, but soon came out again. After circling around the lake for a couple of times, the golden needle bees gave up on chasing Yi Chen and went back to where they came from. Finally got rid of them. Under the water, Yi Chen let out a breath. Staying under the water for a while, Yi Chen saw that there was no more movement, so he got out of the water and chose a direction to fly. He could not go to the herb garden anymore. The outer part of the island was filled with spirit plants, and there were mountains everywhere. Going further in, there were fewer spirit plants, at least they did not grow in clusters. Shoo! Yi Chen arrived in front of a magnificent palace. Entering the palace, Yi Chen focused his eyes. In the hall of the palace, there were 3 human figures. One of them was the elder in the straw cape who had fought with him before. Right then, the elder also looked over with a faint smile on his face. "Little brother, how have you been?" Yi Chen smiled lightly. What a coincidence. Indeed. The lady in red next to the elder laughed. You are not the one who had embarrassed the fisherman, are you? She had heard about it from the elder before, and she was quite surprised at that time. After all, according to the elder's description, Yi Chen was only in his 20s, and he already had the power to injure the fisherman. No matter how he did it, it was enough to shock people. Chapter 526. I am not that talented. Yi Chen had his back facing the door, so he could leave at any time. The lady gave him a thumbs up. Impressive. Among the young people who could make a fisherman suffer a loss, you are the third one. But, in terms of age, you are the first. Little brother, you haven't used that dragon blood plant yet, right? The elder could not forget about the dragon blood plant. He was sure that Yi Chen had not used it yet. There were countless treasures in the Treasure River Island, and the latter would not waste his time on refining the plant. Yi Chen raised his eyebrows. So what if I did? So what if I didn't? How about this? You and I will make a deal. A 9-turn reverse spirit grass and a flood dragon grass for your dragon blood grass. The 9-turn reverse spirit grass can increase the lifespan of martial artists below life and death realm by 9 years. Moreover, it can strengthen the soul. I believe I don't need to explain what kind of benefits a powerful soul brings to martial artists. As for the flood dragon grass, its effect is almost the same as your dragon blood grass. 9-turn reverse spirit plant and flood dragon plant. Yi Chen was a bit surprised by the elder's gains. He knew the value of the 9-turn reverse spirit plant. Back when he was trapped in the bewildering fog forbidden zone, he had gotten 2 of them. He had used one and kept the other, which was indeed beneficial to the soul. No, Yi Chen said firmly. If he did not have the 9-turn reverse spirit plant, he might have considered it. Plus, the flood dragon plant was much weaker than the dragon blood plant. The 2 were not even on the same level. The dragon blood plant was a top-rank spirit plant, while the flood dragon plant was only a mid-rank spirit plant. The elder's face twitched a little. To be honest, he was already reluctant to trade the 9-turn reverse spirit plant. If it were not for Yi Chen's power, he might not have been able to keep him here. Therefore, the elder would definitely not trade with him. He would just kill him and take his treasure. But, what he did not expect was that Yi Chen was not interested at all. It was as if the 9-turn reverse spirit plant was no different from a weed in his eyes. Is there really no room for negotiation? The elder did not give up. Yi Chen's expression did not change at all. Little brother, it's better to leave some leeway for others. While talking, the elder sent a message to the lady and the middle-aged man. You two, if there is a chance, I will need your help. I cannot take down this brat by myself. As for the reward, I will do as you said before. All right. The middle-aged man and the lady in red did not try to bargain. They were only able to come to the island because of the information given to them by the other party. Since they were the first batch to come here, they would be able to get a lot more than the rest. Yi Chen saw that the three of them had a brief exchange of glances and sneered in his heart. As long as he did not make a mistake, no one below the master level would be able to stop him. Yi Chen took some time to look around the palace. The palace was very grand. Its length, width, and height were all measured in li. Around the palace, there were 36 golden stone pillars. Between every 2 golden stone pillars, there was a stone door. On top of the stone door, there was a number of ancient characters written from left to right, such as number 1, number 2, and so on. This seems to be the weapon forging palace for forging great weapons. Yi Chen caught a faintly discernible aura of a great weapon in the void. This aura did not come from a single great weapon, but was a unique aura formed by many different great weapons mixed together. Obviously, the three of them had also sensed that this palace was not normal. Their eyes flashed as they made a decision. Yi Chen's matter would be put aside for now. The great weapons were more important. If they could get a couple of top-rank great weapons, it would not be less than the dragon blood plant. Plus, such a huge weapon forging palace would not only have top-rank great weapons. There might be semi-extreme rank and extreme rank ones as well. Let's go. The elder flew towards the nearest stone door while the middle-aged man and the lady in red chose the 2 stone doors next to each other, leaving Yi Chen alone in front of the palace. How can I return empty-handed after entering the treasure mountain? It just so happens that I am still missing a top-rank great sword. Although Yi Chen's 3 swords in 1 scabbard would also be a top-rank great sword, it would not be that easy to use. However, as the Sky Thunder Cut and the Reverse Sky Thunder Cut were being perfected, 2 top-rank great swords would be necessary. Shoo! Yi Chen chose the 7th stone door that was the closest to him. There was a switch on the wall next to the stone door. Once it was switched on, the heavy stone door started to rise up. It was the gate. The gate was opened halfway, and a rich treasure cheese spread out. No great weapons. Behind the stone door was an empty crafting room. After scanning with his soul power, he could not find a single great weapon. However, there was a substantial treasure chi leaking out from the walls of the crafting room. Yi Chen had heard that if the treasure chi was rich, it would be very helpful for the maintenance of the great weapons. For example, a mid-rank great weapon could be stored for hundreds of years. Under the nourishment of the treasure chi, it might be able to last for 1,000 years or even longer. Go! With a suction force coming out of his palm, Yi Chen swept through all the treasure chi in the crafting room and stored them all in a low-rank storage ring. If he found any great weapons in the future, he would put them all in that storage ring. What? Nothing. Arriving at the crafting room next door, Yi Chen also did not find any great weapons. He could only see the treasure chi with his naked eyes. Perhaps they had all been taken away before. Yi Chen could not rule out this possibility. The history of the island was way too long. Perhaps all the great weapons had been taken away by someone already. As for the spirit plants and medicines, they could grow again, so there would be a lot of them. Putting away the treasure chi, Yi Chen walked towards the next crafting room. Not even a single great weapon. The elder in the woven raincoat and the other 2 had also encountered the same problem. They looked a bit disappointed. What they had done was the same as Yi Chen, which was to absorb all the treasure chi in the crafting room into their storage rings. Since the treasure chi in the crafting room seemed to be endless anyway. Once it was all absorbed, the inside of the walls would come out again. Unknowingly, the 4 of them walked towards the metal door in the front of the palace from both sides. The metal door in the middle was the biggest, so it must be something special. Plus, there was no switch on the wall next to the door. Judging from the shine of the metal door, it was not hard to imagine that the possibility of breaking the door open with brute force would be very low, since the crafting room was not made of tofu after all. The 4 of them stood dozens of meters away from each other, glancing at the metal door from time to time. Shoo! Outside the palace, a sky-shattering sound was suddenly heard. A red figure flew towards the palace at an extreme speed. It was as fast as lightning, even faster than everyone present. Its chi was extremely powerful. Not good. The four of them all changed their expressions as they looked towards the direction of the palace door. Huh. This should be the crafting room, right? My iron palm master is quite lucky. Before the person arrived, the voice had already arrived, rumbling like thunder in the sky. Iron palm master. Could it be a Sea of Souls realm master-level warrior? The lady in red was extremely nervous, her palms sticky. Shoo! The red figure arrived at the palace. He was in his 50s and 8 feet tall. He was wearing a big red robe with a pair of fire qilin embroidered on his chest. His muscular body was like a huge mountain. Just by standing there, his aura was already spreading out, pressuring the four to the point where they could barely breathe. More importantly, the four could not see through his cultivation. Let's go. The elder in the woven rush raincoat made a decision immediately, wanting to leave. No matter how good the things inside the metal door were, they would still need to be alive to take them. Fighting against a master-level warrior would not be a good thing. The middle-aged man and the lady in red nodded, following behind the elder. Yichen forced a laugh secretly. It would be impossible for them to leave. Did they not notice the trace of mockery in the other's eyes? Where do you think you are going? Indeed, the man in red did not plan to let the four of them leave the palace alive. He lifted up his palm and attacked the three of them. Boom! The aggressive flame palm power was extremely aggressive. Yi Chen had never seen such a horrifying palm power before. It contained the profound of fire, which was extremely horrifying. The three of them were very powerful. There was almost no one below the master level who could kill them. But, facing a real master level warrior, the difference was obvious. Their protective Jin Yuan was shattered, and the three of them were blown away together. Blood leaked out of the corners of their mouths like little snakes. Why are you blocking our way? The elder in the woven rush raincoat said with a low voice. The man in red laughed. All the stone doors here have been opened, so the great items must be in your hands. Hand them over, and I will consider letting you guys go. The lady in red said hurriedly, we did not get any great items at all. They are all empty. They must have been taken away by someone else. Ha! You think I will believe you? The man in red sneered. The middle-aged man in the scholar robe lifted up his palm and said, I swear to the heavens that we did not get any great items. You should believe me now, right? I swear to the heavens as well. The lady in red and the elder in the woven rush raincoat did not want to die. Sea of Souls realm warriors had a lifespan of 300 years. They still had a lot of time to waste. If they died now, it would not be worth it at all. Oh? Why are you not swearing? The man looked at Yi Chen. Yi Chen said, is swearing useful? Ha ha ha. The man in red laughed out loud. After a while, he said, you three idiots are not even as good as a young man. If swearing was useful, then there would not be so many people dying in this world. Now, I will give you a choice. Hand over all the great items, and I will check them myself. If you do not, then I will kill you. Right then, the four of them had a bad look on their faces. They indeed did not get any great items, but there were quite a lot of good things in their storage rings. But they were sure that once they handed over their storage rings, they would not be able to keep them anymore. Plus, they did not believe that the man in red would let them go. If they handed over their storage rings, then they would most likely die. We indeed do not have any great items. Asking us to hand over our storage rings, isn't that a bit too much? The middle-aged man in the scholar robe secretly activated his Jin Yuan. At the same time, he passed a message to Yi Chen, little brother, we are facing a huge disaster right now. If we want to survive, then we have to work together. Working together is not a long-term plan. You know how powerful master-level warriors are. Yi Chen knew very well that he could compete with anyone below the master level. If he could not beat them, then he would be able to escape. But, if he were to face a master-level warrior, then he would not even have 10% chance of winning, and the chance of escaping would not be more than 10% either. After all, they were blocking the door, so where could he run to? Too much. In the eyes of a powerful warrior, there is no such thing as too much. Boom! Boom! The man in red threw out 4 palm attacks in a row, attacking the 4 of them separately. Chapter 527. This palm art was just a normal low-rank profound sense palm art. But, in the hands of the man, it was way more powerful than the low-rank profound sense martial arts performed by normal people. His fire profound was way too powerful, even more powerful than the normal profound sense of low-rank profound sense martial arts. In terms of fire power, it was at least 120%. Therefore, he had thrown out 4 palm attacks at once, each one of them fatal. Facing this fire palm power, everyone, including Yi Chen, felt like they were being roasted by fire. Even their Jin Yuan was being burned. Master-level warriors. So powerful. Yi Chen gasped as he threw out his gold resonant radiance attack, clashing with the fire palm power. All of a sudden, the palace was filled with chi power. The 4 human figures crashed into the wall at the same time, puking out a huge mouthful of blood. Am I really going to die here? The red-robed woman's face was filled with unwillingness. The elder was quite old after all, so he was calmer than the lady in red. He said with a low voice, "Run. Run separately. If one of us survives, then we will all die." A master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior is not something that a couple of people can handle. Indeed. The middle-aged man nodded. He thought that if the 4 of them worked together, there would be some hope. But now, he realized that there was no hope at all. It was not his fault for making the wrong judgment. It could only be said that without battling with a master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior, one would not know how powerful they were. Run! Yi Chen sighed helplessly. Thinking about it, he was a bit scared. He could not believe that he had gone against the Yin Demon Master in the underground world. Back then, the latter had been restricted by the rules of the underground world, so he had never used his real power. Once he reached the Holy Land, the rules had disappeared. But, under the protection of the Undying Altar, he still could not feel how powerful a master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior was. Compared to the man in red, Yi Chen finally knew how powerful the Yin Demon Master was. He was at least at the same level as the man in red, maybe even more powerful. It seemed like he could tell that the 4 were going to run separately, so a playful expression flashed through the man's face as he laughed. Run? Where do you think you are going? Fire cage. As he spoke, the red-robed man formed a seal with both of his hands, and an endless amount of fire yuan qi gathered from all directions. The fire yuan qi outside the door was the largest, and it surged in violently. Then, a huge flame cage filled the hall. Although it didn't trap the 4 people inside, it blocked the way out. Damn it! The middle-aged man's eyes turned red as he slashed at the flame cage. Bang! Shallow sword marks appeared on the pillars of the flame cage. Soon, the sword marks healed, and there was no damage at all. The man in red shook his head. You will not be able to escape. This fire cage contains the profound of fire. Unless you are close to me in terms of profound, you will never be able to break out of it. I will give you one last chance. Hand over your storage rings. Once you hand over your storage rings, I will consider letting you go. Otherwise, you will be dead for sure, and no one will be able to save you. What should we do? The 4 of them glanced at each other, their eyes filled with questions. Why don't we hand it over to him? At least we'll have a chance to live. The middle-aged man was actually not very afraid of death, but when he thought of his wife at home and the child he had just given birth to, his desire to live was very strong. He could not die. If he died, what would happen to his wife and child? Hand it over. The straw-caped elder shook his head, his face filled with bitterness. If we hand over our storage rings, will you let us go? The middle-aged man was still worried, his eyes filled with begging. The man in red did not nod or shake his head as he said proudly, "I will not promise anything. I can only say that it depends on my mood." "All right, don't test my patience, I am not that patient." "Bastard!" The middle-aged man cursed in his mind as he took out the storage ring from his left hand. He hesitated for a second, then threw it through the gap of the cage to the man in red. "Here you go." The elder threw out his own storage ring as well. "You guys go this way, hurry up." The man in red opened a door on the cage, letting the two walk in. Then, he opened another door on the other side. After walking out of these two doors, they would be able to reach the entrance of the palace. Once they left the palace, they would be able to survive. "Why don't you hand it over?" Yi Chen looked at the lady in red confusedly. She looked like she was struggling, as if there was something she could not let go of. The lady in red turned her head. "What about you?" Yi Chen said, "I can only say that the result will be the same whether I hand it over or not. But, I am not sure, so I will not stop them." His soul power was very powerful, and he could vaguely feel that the man in red was playing with them. Of course, it was just his instinct, and there was no proof. Therefore, he did not say it out loud. Whether he was playing with them or not, it all depended on whether the two who handed over the storage rings could leave this place alive. The middle-aged man and the elder walked step by step towards the first door of the cage. Before entering, the two hesitated for a second, but eventually walked in. Clang! The two doors were suddenly closed, and they did not even have the time to react. What is the meaning of this? The middle-aged man was shocked, thinking of the worst possible result. The man in red looked at the two in the cage and could not stop laughing. "Haha, this is so fun. Controlling other people's lives in your own hands, this feeling is so amazing. Can you understand it?" "Yeah, you don't understand. You are just poor things. Damn. Let us out." The middle-aged man and the elder attacked the cage as if they did not care about their lives, trying to open a gap. "All right, it is over. You have had a hard journey before. Now, you can go back to a quiet place, where there is no killing." The man in red put his hands together. As he closed his palms, flame spikes appeared on the inner walls of the flame cage. The flame spikes shot out and pierced through the middle-aged man. The raging flames engulfed him, and in a short while, he was burned to ashes. Not even his bones were left. What shocked the red-robed man was that the old man did not die. At the critical moment, the old man took out the Tower of Essence and expanded it rapidly. He himself entered the first floor of the Tower of Essence. Originally, he wanted to save the middle-aged man, but the speed of the flame spikes was too fast. He had already lost an arm, so there was no time to save the old man. A semi-extreme rank item? No, it is a low-quality item. With such a low-quality item, you want to block out my attack? In your dreams. The man in red saw that there was a slight crack on the Yuan Tower, so he laughed out loud. Then, more fire thorns shot out, drowning the whole tower. Within a couple of blinks of an eye, the Yuan Tower exploded, and the elder inside followed the middle-aged man's footsteps. Damn it! The red-clothed woman's body trembled. She had worked with the middle-aged man and the old man for many years. Although the three of them had often schemed against each other, they had never thought of harming each other. They had already developed feelings for each other. Now that she saw the old man and the middle-aged man die, the red-clothed woman's heart ached. Tears flowed from the corners of her eyes. Seeing this, Yi Chen tightened his fists. Putting away the two storage rings beside his feet, the man studied Yi Chen and the lady with interest. "I have to say, you two are indeed brave. You are lucky that you guessed it right. I indeed did not think about letting you go. But, it does not matter if you die earlier or later. You will still have to die." Seeming to have lost interest, the man in red waved his left hand in the air. The shape of the fire cage changed as countless sharp thorns appeared. They were spiral-shaped, bringing up sparks everywhere. They contained an extremely horrifying fire profound. As long as they were hit, the two's protective Jin Yuan would not be able to handle it at all. Shoo! 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 Dozens of fire thorns shot towards the two at lightning-fast speed. In that critical moment, the lady took out a shield and placed it in front of her head and chest. However, her abdomen and thighs had been hit by 2 thorns respectively. The flame was still burning her body, and she was in a critical situation. Yi Chen did not have a top-rank defensive shield, so he could only perform his sword chi tornado and focus it on the upper half of his body, preventing the thorns from reaching his head and arms. As for the rest of his body, he had the gold armor, which might be able to block out the thorns. All of a sudden, Yi Chen's legs were hit by 3 to 4 thorns, but his upper body was perfectly fine. Boom! Right at that moment, the metal door behind the two suddenly opened. It was a deep sound that seemed to have been sealed for a long time. But in the ears of the two, it was definitely a life-saving cry. Go in! Yi Chen grabbed the lady who was badly wounded and jumped into the metal door. How dare you run? The man in red focused his eyes and soon found out the reason why the metal door was opened. It turned out that the flame thorns had shot through a hidden compartment in the wall. The hidden compartment was the mechanism, which meant that he had helped the two to open the metal door. How could he not be angry? Damn it! Kill! The rest of the fire cages all turned into sharp flaming needles, shooting towards the metal door and Yi Chen and the lady who had just entered the door like a storm. Where is the switch? Yi Chen was very anxious. Once he was inside, he immediately left the lady and looked for the switch to close the metal door. Got it! Pooh! He found the switch, but one of the fire thorns that had shot through the metal door hit his chest. Even with the protection of the gold armor, he was still hit by the power of the thorns, which made him puke out 3 liters of blood. His body was sent flying backwards. Hit it! In midair, Yi Chen flicked out a sword chi and shot it at the switch. Boom! The metal door rose halfway and then lowered down again, blocking the other fire thorns outside. We are saved! Landing heavily on the ground, Yi Chen did not have any energy left. He could only smile bitterly. Outside the metal door, the man in red was so angry that his eyes were burning. 2 people who were just his playthings had survived. It was beyond his expectation. Break! The man in red threw out a palm attack onto the metal door, and the flame power poured out. However, no one knew what the metal door was made of. No matter how hard he tried to attack, he could not break it open. Instead, he had shaken both of his arms until they were numb, and his chi and blood were boiling. Yi Chen could only hear a little bit of what was going on outside, since the soundproofing was very good. He took a deep breath and said to the lady, "Are you dead yet?" "I am fine." The place where the lady had been hit was almost burnt, and her voice was very weak. But of course, for Sea of Souls realm warriors, this kind of wound was not fatal. Chapter 528. As long as you are still alive. As he spoke, Yi Chen swallowed a top-rank Yuan Qi replenishing pellet. Although the Undying Body's first-level flesh recovery had given him the ability to repair his body, it did not come without a price, which was a huge loss of Yuan Qi. This Yuan Qi was not natural Yuan Qi, but the Yuan Qi that was already inside his body. It was one of the most primal energies that had something to do with life force. Too much Yuan Qi damage would not be good for his future training, and he would lose his lifespan. The good thing was that Yuan Qi could be repaired, but it would take a long time. The lady in red didn't have an immortal body, so if she wanted to heal her body, normal pills would take a long time. She might not even be able to recover in 10 days or half a month. However, she was a Taoist master after all, so she had a lot of treasures. With a flip of her left hand, a milky white tree branch appeared. This tree branch looked as if it was made of white jade, smooth, without any flaws. 3 inches away from the branch, a thin layer of light was on the verge of collapsing. It looked like a candle flame, but also like water vapor, gentle and full of vitality. She moved the white jade branch closer to the burnt area. All of a sudden, the scar there fell off, revealing a bloody wound. The flesh inside the wound started to move, trying to heal. As the wound got smaller and smaller, the soft light from the white jade branch started to dim down. The branch of the undying tree. Yi Chen saw this, and a surprised look flashed through his eyes. The undying tree is an extreme rank spirit tree, and even a branch would be a semi-extreme rank item. Where would I get it? This is a branch from the long life tree. The lady explained. It was the long life tree. Yi Chen nodded. The relationship between the undying tree and the long life tree was like a father and son. The undying tree was born naturally, and could move freely. The long life tree, on the other hand, was a huge tree that grew from the seed of the undying tree. It had some of the characteristics of the undying tree, but it was still not as powerful as the undying tree. It was only a semi-extreme rank spirit tree. Of course, it was already very impressive to have a long life tree. If a normal person stayed next to it for a long time, they would be able to live up to 200 years without a problem. If it were a warrior, not only would they be immune to all kinds of poisons, they would also be immune to heart demons. Withdrawing his gaze, Yi Chen closed his eyes and sat in meditation, working hard to refine the medicinal pellets and replenish his lost yuan qi. Outside the metal door, the man in red had a gloomy expression on his face. This metal door and the surrounding walls contain restrictive powers. There is no way to break through it. The only hidden compartment has been destroyed. Right now, the metal door can only be opened from the inside. Damn it! The red-clothed man was extremely regretful. If he had killed them right from the start, then Yi Chen and the red-clothed woman would not have been able to escape. Once he killed them, he would have spent some time to open the metal door and take the treasures inside. Now, not only had he not killed them, but he had also locked himself outside. Ha! Every time the Treasure River Island appears, it will only exist for 3 months. After 3 months, it will disappear into the deepest part of the Star Region Lake, and it will be hard to find. I will wait here until the day the Treasure River Island disappears. Let's see if you guys will come out or not. The red-robed man let out a long sigh. He flicked his sleeves, sat cross-legged in the middle of the hall, and started to cultivate. There is a palace here. There must be treasures inside. Let's go in. There are countless treasures on this island. I did not expect that we would be lucky enough to come here and get so many priceless spirit plants and medicines. Everyone has their own opportunities. This time, it is our opportunity. Outside the palace, a group of Sea of Souls realm warriors rushed over. When they saw the red-robed man sitting in the middle of the palace, their expressions all changed. The man opened his eyes, which were filled with killing intent. Since you are already here, then you will all die. Not good. Run. The aura exuded from the red-robed man was extremely tyrannical, like a volcano that was about to erupt. Before the crowd could even get close, they all felt like they were being roasted by the fire. They panicked and ran out of the hall, scattering in all directions. Do you think you can run? Dong! As soon as the red-robed man's voice fell, a huge flaming cage descended from the sky, trapping the group of people within it. There was no way out, no way out, no way out. Let's fight him. Everyone who had been forced into a desperate situation performed all of their top attacks, attacking on the fire cage. Chi power exploding noises could be heard continuously. It was extremely intense. I cannot break it open. Everyone had lost all hope. They realized that the fire cage was 10 times tougher than they had imagined. Not even a single pillar could break it. The man in red sneered as he put his hands together. Beams of light shot out everywhere inside the cage. It was actually countless spiral flame spikes shooting out crazily. Within a blink of an eye, only a pile of bone ash was left in the cage. You have overestimated yourself. The man put away his storage ring and closed his eyes to continue his training. On the second day on the island, Yi Chen had finally recovered all of his yuan qi. Studying the lady, Yi Chen realized that she was still healing herself. Obviously, the long tree branch would not be able to heal her instantly, and she would need to rest for a while. This crafting room is different from the others. Not only is it 10 times bigger, but the treasure qi is also 10 times thicker. There are 5 furnaces in the middle, and 4 of them are on the 4 sides. In the middle, there is a huge furnace that is 10 meters tall. Perhaps there are great weapons stored inside? Walking to the furnace that was closest to him, Yi Chen paused for a second. Accumulating Zhen Yuan in his palm, he opened the lid from a distance. Boom! A bright treasure qi shot out into the sky. Meanwhile, a crystal-like short blade shot out into the air, shooting out a beam of blade qi towards Yi Chen. Spontaneous blade qi. Yi Chen flicked out a beam of sword qi, which clashed with the incoming blade qi. Crack! The short blade backed out dozens of steps, shaking violently. Top of the top-rank great blade. The lady was woken up by the exploding sound. Her eyes brightened as she looked at the short blade happily, then looked at Yi Chen. She knew that she would not be able to compete with Yi Chen. Yi Chen knew what she was thinking, so he said, "For great weapons, you can pick one, but the one in the middle has to be mine. Do you want this short blade? Let's see." The lady did not dare to hope for the great weapon in the middle of the furnace, but the other 4 might be even better than the short blade. Hearing her, Yi Chen did not waste any more time and opened another lid. This time, it was a long spear that had fire crows carved on it. It was also a top-rank great weapon, and its aura was no weaker than the short blade. Just like the short blade, the long spear stabbed out toward Yi Chen the second it left the furnace. It was like a Sea of Souls realm warrior attacking Yi Chen with all of his power. Ting! Flicking away the long spear, Yi Chen did not even look at it before opening the third lid. Ting! An earth-shattering sword sound was heard. This time, it was a golden long sword that shook in the air. Sword qi spread out everywhere. Great sword! Yi Chen's heart skipped a beat as he reached out to grab the golden longsword. The golden longsword had been nurtured in the furnace for countless years, and it was a freshly made top-rank great weapon. It was extremely powerful as it attacked toward Yi Chen's arm. How could Yi Chen be attacked by an ownerless weapon? He flipped his wrist, grabbing onto the tip of the long sword with his index and middle fingers. Zhen Yuan and Slaughter Sword Intent attacked toward it. Ting! Ting! The golden longsword continued to shake before gradually calming down. A gold element top-rank great sword. It is way more powerful than that emerald longsword. Top-rank great weapons had different levels of power as well. The emerald longsword that Yi Chen had gotten from killing the sword artist in green was only a normal top-rank great sword, which did not increase his attacking power that much. However, this golden longsword was a top-rank great sword. After being nurtured in the furnace for countless years, it had gained a bit of spirituality and was at its peak. Holding the sword handle, Yi Chen casually waved out a sword attack. Shoo! The crescent-shaped golden sword qi spread out, blowing away the fourth lid. There was an extra cut mark on it, which was extremely sharp. Great sword! Yi Chen did not even look at the fourth great weapon as he continued to study the golden longsword in his hand. I will take this short blade. The fourth great weapon was a pair of gloves, which did not suit the lady's taste. Yi Chen waved his hand, and the short blade floating in the air flew toward her. Grabbing the blade, the lady studied it carefully before thanking Yi Chen. Putting away the 3 great weapons, Yi Chen looked at the huge furnace in the middle. The lady also stared at it without blinking. She was sure that the weapon inside must be at the semi-extreme rank. Open! Yi Chen threw out a punch and blew away the lid on the furnace. Hoo! A powerful vibration was released. The golden longsword in Yi Chen's hand and the lady's short blade kept on shaking, as if they could not handle the pressure of the qi. Ting! A sword sound that was 10 times louder than the golden longsword was heard. Before the sword was even pulled out, a bright sword chi had already shot out, attacking the two. Not good. The lady waved her blade and created a light wall, trying her best to block out the incoming sword chi. A smile flashed past Yi Chen's face. It was another sword, and it seemed to be even more powerful than the golden longsword. Just the sword chi alone was equivalent to a full power attack from a spirit warrior. If he could hold it in his hand, its power would definitely double. Pap! 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 All of the sword chi had been shattered by Yi Chen's sword before it could even get close to Yi Chen. As the sword chi disappeared, the great sword inside the furnace came out. The first thing that came out of the furnace was the sword handle, which was thin and long but powerful. Traces of deep electric currents surged around it, making a cracking sound. Then came the sword socket, which looked like the head of a wild beast. It spat out a long sword, which was unimaginably sharp. It was like a flash of lightning, yet also like a thunderbolt. When the tip of the sword appeared in the two's sight, their eyes felt like they were being stabbed, and tears started to fill up their eyes. Shoo! The great sword flashed once, stabbing towards Yi Chen's powerful sword chi. Yi Chen waved his sword to block the incoming attack. Chin! Sparks flew everywhere, and Yi Chen could not help but back out a couple of steps, his face blank. A great sword was able to push him back. Was this an extreme rank great sword, or a semi-extreme rank great sword? After thinking for a while, Yi Chen felt that it should not be an extreme rank great sword. Back when the parallel space battlefield opened, the extreme rank axe's power was way more powerful than this sword's. It had even pierced through the ground. If this great sword was an extreme rank great sword, then it would have been able to wound him slightly. A semi-extreme rank great sword. The lady blurted out before looking at Yi Chen with admiration. Although a semi-extreme rank great sword was not as powerful as an extreme rank great sword, it would still be a great weapon for Sea of Souls realm warriors. Even master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors would want to fight for it. Even some of the normal life and death realm warriors would be holding semi-extreme rank great weapons. It was not hard to imagine how tempting a semi-extreme rank great weapon would be. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.